This is huge. A popular running back in the NFL draft just got news that could seriously improve his draft stock leading up to the 2025 NFL draft. It is a player that I desperately want the Steelers to go get, and that is Skattebo, running back out of Arizona State. His draft stock has risen for multiple different reasons, and we have a new update on him today. But before we get into it, I want you guys to subscribe to Steelers Digest if you haven't already. We're going to have plenty of content here on this channel as the offseason continues to roll on. Free agency updates, draft updates, and everything else that you could possibly want to know regarding your Pittsburgh Steelers. The offseason is a very busy time, and this team is going to look a whole lot different next year. So hit that sub button, and we will keep you in the loop. Right now, I want to talk about Skattebo because this is a guy that I really like, and he just announced that he is going to be taking part in the NFL Draft Combine, which is going to severely impact his draft stock. He moved up in the latest 2025 NFL mock draft, and he just continues to get more and more attention from teams. Every single mock draft I look at, it's a new team that's interested in drafting Skattebo, which is not a good thing for the Steelers. Originally, he was looked at as a maybe 4th round pick or a 5th round pick at running back, but now we're looking at him in the 3rd round, maybe even the 2nd round. So this is a significant difference if the Steelers want to use a higher end draft pick in order to draft a running back like Skattebo. And obviously, it's also going to depend on whether or not they retain Najee Harris, which it's more likely than not Najee is retained. But at one point, they were talking about moving on from Najee and Jaylen Warren, which would mean they would have to draft multiple running backs in the draft, something I'm 100% on board for them doing. Skattebo in the 3rd round, he boosted his draft stock with his Peach Bowl performance. That was a terrific show that Skattebo put on. That was his welcome to the party moment. It was like, hey, I'm here. And he's 5'11", 215 pounds. He was a senior. He dominated the Longhorns defense that is full of 5 stars. And if they're not 5 stars, they're also 4 stars on that defense. A loaded defense, one of the best defenses in all of college football. Skattebo tore them up in the second half, and he accounted for 143 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, threw a pass for a touchdown in that game, 42 yards, and caught 8 passes for 99 yards. He was a workhorse. You could see him on the sidelines. He was gassed. I mean, he was throwing up like it was crazy. Skattebo, he's not really going to be like an official bell cow back in the NFL. At least I don't think he needs to be. I think the best way to approach running back in today's NFL is to have 2 really good running backs, a 1-2 punch. And Skattebo could easily be your number 1. It's just a matter of having another guy that can be a little bit versatile, maybe a pass catcher, Jaylen Warren type of guy, but I don't really want Jaylen Warren either. I think an ideal scenario for the Steelers drafting Skattebo, maybe an Ollie Gordon, or if Travion Henderson is available in the 3rd round when the Steelers come up, I think you might have to take Travion Henderson. But right now, this video is about Skattebo because he's a guy I really like, and he is a very talented running back that the Steelers could easily go get if they're willing to use their draft pick on the running back position. Again, it's going to depend on what they do with free agency with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren of how much that is a position of need, because usually in the draft you draft based on position of need, and if running back's a position of need, I wouldn't be surprised if they use a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick on a running back. If Ashton Jeanty falls in the 1st round, I can't say they're going to pass on him either. But right now, Skattebo being projected to go to the Cowboys in the 2nd round, that is if they don't get Ashton Jeanty in the 1st round. No one's going to argue that Jeanty is the number 1 running back in this draft class, but if he's a 1st round pick and the Steelers aren't willing to use a 1st round pick on a running back, I don't blame them. Then they have to use a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round pick on running back to make sure they're filling one of the most important positions on the football field. You see how much of an impact a guy like Saquon Barkley can be, or Derrick Henry. This is such an important position. Josh Jacobs, like nowadays, we're starting to finally see after this past season that running backs are valuable. Coming into last year, they were not valued very highly. And now we're starting to see if you have a stud running back, like a top tier running back, that could propel an entire offense. And this report talking about from Pro Football Focus, the Cowboys drafting Skattebo, one of the true breakout stars of the 2024 college season, level of power and toughness that Dallas's backfield currently lacks. And last season, he was a nightmare to tackle, breaking 104 tackles and gaining 1,200 of his 1,700 yards after initial contact, which is very impressive. College Football Network said Skattebo will be drafted in the 3rd round. Again, we saw a projection in the 2nd round, but 3rd round is about a happy place for Skattebo. I'd be okay with the Steelers going and getting him in the 3rd round. He is a projected lead rushing back in a run-heavy scheme where he has this grinding demeanor, can pound the ground game, chain mover at the next level. He was a championship game MVP in the Big 12. Pure football player, loves the game. I think he's Steeler written all over him. I really do. First time I saw this guy run, I say he is a Steeler, and it just makes sense. He is perfect for this scheme. I really think we would love watching him run for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's just perfect. He's so perfect in so many ways. He can catch passes a lot better than Najee Harris, but he also has that same toughness. He can run downhill at you and take you out. And if you hit him, he's going to break you off and keep going. Like, that is the type of runner that Cam Skattebo is. Reminds me of Jerome Bettis, the bus. Happy birthday, by the way, Jerome Bettis. I forgot to say that in the last video, but Jerome Bettis just had a birthday. So congratulations, Jerome Bettis. That guy was an absolute beast back in the day, and Cam Skattebo could be that next great Pittsburgh Steelers running back and part of a 1-2 punch if we could draft maybe 2 running backs or just retain one of Najee or Warren and then draft Cam Skattebo. I think that's a great plan for the Steelers. But the mock drafts and the rankings are 2 different things. The rankings have Skattebo not among the top 7 running backs. Well, that's, of course, according to Mel Kiper with his projections for running backs. He has Genty number 1. Can't argue with that. Omar and Hampton, can kind of take that wherever you want with the Omar and Hampton, and LaQuint Allen from Syracuse, also another one. It's like, okay, Dylan Sampson, Quishon Judkins, it's a little bit closer. I say maybe he's better than Cam Skattebo. Caleb Johnson, a little bit younger. He's also really, really good. And then you have RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey's an absolute stud. He's being overlooked a lot, so I like that he's on this list. Travion Henderson behind Cam Skattebo is kind of crazy as well. And it just, credibility goes down and down and down for me when I look at this list, because what? Excuse me? There's no way that's the top 10, and there's no way it's in that order. But hey, I'm not making the rankings. I should. I probably will now that I've seen that and how bad it is. But Skattebo, he's put in the work. He showed up. He's been unbelievable. Contact balance, hard to tackle. He took another big step this year. This is what Coach Dillingham said about him. Really pushed himself to be the strongest version of himself, to drop body fat, increase speed. He did all that, and he started practicing consistently, started managing his body, taking care of his body, eating right, took his game to the next level. And that's the moral story. Cam Skattebo worked his butt off and got to the point where he's at now. Running backs at the Combine, Skattebo is one of 31 running backs to be invited to the Combine. The list also includes Genty, Taj Brooks, DJ Giddens, and Ollie Gordon, guys that we're really excited to get a look at least for the Steelers. I think these are guys that could be drafted by the Steelers. Any of those guys that were just listed. Being at the Combine is a great opportunity to increase your draft stock or really let that thing plummet. One way or another, your draft stock is either going to go way up or way down based on what you do in the Combine. It's something that teams value way more than I can really put into words. It is almost as important as your actual performance on tape and your actual gameplay. Because if they see a guy with top-end speed, his draft stock's going. So if the Steelers want Cam Skattebo, they're going to have to pay attention to this Combine, see what he's worth, and really take an educated pick here and draft Skattebo whenever it is deemed fit by Omar Khan. He is a great running back, will be a great addition to this backfield. I think he'd be our number 1 running back, absolutely. And I've been a fan of him. I've been a fan of him all year. And that Peach Bowl game, man, whew, you can't play better than Cam Skattebo played. That was one of the single greatest college football players, individual efforts in a game I have ever seen. And that was after the moment that I already said he is a Steeler. But that game, whew, I was like, he has to be a Steeler. It went from me saying he looks like a Steeler to he has to be a Steeler in that game. So Cam Skattebo, make it happen, Omar Khan, one way or another. Let's look at this Combine when it happens and really break it down, because that's going to be something we're going to be talking about for a good couple weeks before the draft is the Combine. And that is a day that Cam Skattebo has marked on his calendar because he's invited now. It is official, and that's severely going to impact his draft stock for better or for worse. Thank you guys for watching this video, Steelers Digest. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next episode of Steelers Digest.